Sri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Supreme Master by Acharya Ekiral Bharadwaja. The Twilight Hues. The saint of Akkalkota, more properly known as Sri Swami Samartha, is one of the greatest saints born in Maharashtra. Though he is well known within that state, it is strange that he whose life and spiritual attainment compares favorably with most of the well-known saints of India should be known so little to the common people outside the state. He is recognized as the incarnation of Lord Dattatreya. In fact, as the following account of the life of the saint shows, he is none other than Sri Nrsimha Saraswati, whose Nirguna Padukas, the holy stone sandals, have attained fame at Gangapur in Maharashtra. The Padukas are even today unfailing guides to souls which are in the search of spiritual illumination. Most of the seekers in Maharashtra resort to them and dedicate themselves to the observance of austerities and the study of the holy book Sri Guru Charitra, which is an account of Sri Nrsimha Saraswati's life and also the life of the earlier avatar of Sri Dattatreya, Sripada Sri Vallabha Swami. Such seekers are unfailingly guided to their appropriate spiritual masters by Lord Dattatreya either through visions or dreams. Many such seekers of the time were told by Lord Dattatreya to visit his incarnation at Akkalkot as Swami Samarth. For instance, one Baloji Raja who prayed for light at Gangapur was visited by the Supreme Guru Sri Dattatreya in his dream. The Lord said, "When I am in your own principality, that is as Sri Swami Samarth, why should you come here?" And then the Lord vanished. The reference was plain enough to Baloji Raja. The saint first appeared at Akkalkot on a Wednesday in the month of Ashwini, September-October in the year 1856. He stayed there for nearly 22 years, yet no one knew anything about his name, parentage, caste and community and his native place. Even though several of his devotees tried to elicit these details from him, he never told them anything definitely. Though there are hints regarding his antecedents which he dropped now and then, they are not cogent. Once a devotee named Chintopant asked him for these details. He replied, "My caste is that of a cobbler." On another occasion, he told a devotee, "We have come from Karalivanam, that is, the plantain grove at Sri Sailam." To another devotee by name Karve, he said on different occasion, "I am a Yajurvedi Brahmin. Gotra is Kashyapa. My name is Narsimha Bhan. Meena is my lunar sign, Rasi. If you ask me further, I shall thrash you." When another devotee put the same question to him, he replied in a cryptic manner, "I am the spirit that has originated all, the banyan tree, the origin of the origin, Moola Purush, Vatavriksha Moola." One of his devotees has interpreted the last of the above statements of the saint thus: Lord interpreted the last Lord Dattatreya himself is the banyan tree. Its prop roots are the various incarnations of Lord Dattatreya. Of these, the saint of Akkalkot is one. But in view of saint's life history, I would like to interpret it in a slightly different way. The saint was the guru of several other saints who were looked upon as the incarnations of Lord Dattatreya by the people. Hence, he can be compared to the banyan tree, the prop roots of which represent various saints, his disciples, who were hailed by the public as incarnations of Lord Dattatreya. So, the saint of Akkalkot is one with Lord Dattatreya, the origin of all the saints. That is why he called himself Moola Purush, the original being. Several were the occasions on which Sri Swami Samarth referred to himself as Nrsimhabhan, Dattatreya, the supreme originator, and said that he hailed from Kadalivanam or the orchard of Kardali trees. All these references, along with several other spiritual revelations that he graced to some of his devotees, strongly support the view that he is the same as Sri Nrsimha Saraswati at Gangapur. The latter, after living for a long time at Gangapur, left his Nirguna Padukas as his representatives and reached the celebrated Kadalivanam at Sri Sailam in Andhra Pradesh. He also sent a message to his devotees at Gangapur that his arrival at Kadalivan will be indicated to them by the mysterious appearance of myriads of flowers floating in the river Bhima Patala Ganga near Gangapur. After a short sojourn at the holy place of Sri Sailam, Sri Narasimha Saraswati entered the Kadalivan and nothing was known of him ever after. The above mentioned references of Sri Swami Samartha of Akkalkot fit in exactly with these instances in the life of Sri Narasimha Saraswati. Besides, one of the chief disciples of the Swami, Swami Sutta, son of Swami, once said to his disciples that Sri Swami Samartha first appeared in the world as a boy of 8 on Chaitra Shuddha Vidya, April-May in year 1149. He also added that Sri Nisimha Saraswati has himself later reappeared as Sri Swami Samarth. Fortunately for us, a few details regarding the accomplishments of Sri Swami Samarth during his travels all over the country prior to his arrival at Akkalkot have come down to us through those spiritual seekers who saw him in these various places. He is said to have wandered long in Himalayas, visiting such holy places such as Badrinath, Kedarnath, Gangotri, and Haridwar. Later, he visited other holy places such as Varanasi, Calcutta, Puri Jagannath, Rajor, Udupi, Pandharpur, Sahyadri, Girnar, Madhapur, Karveer, Panchaleshwar, Ashwath, Karanjnagar, Nrsimhavadi, Rameshwar, Begumpur, Mohol, Sholapur, Mangalveda, Gangapur, and many other places. There is a strange account of his emergence from the Himalayas, connecting it with his earlier life as Sri Narasimha Saraswati. Sri Narasimha Saraswati, after staying for some time in Kardalivan, reached the Himalayas and sat in incessant samadhi for about 300 years in a dense forest. He was completely covered by ant hills, and even a big tree grew by his side. Once a woodcutter came to the forest and chose that particular tree for hewing down. First, he laid the axe to the ant hill and was stunned to see blood oozing from the corner of it. He immediately pulled down the ant hill and was amazed to see the Swami sitting underneath it in dhyana. The instant roused the Swami from his samadhi. The woodcutter found that the blood emanated from a deep wound that his axe has caused the Swami. Trembling with fear, he fell at the feet of the Swami and begged his pardon. The Swami blessed him and said that the instant was divinely prompted as the time had come for him to come out into the world and continue his mission. Thence, the Swami started on his long walks. The incident took place nearly 100 years before his arrival at Akkalkot. There are not more than one or two instances which Swami himself directly referred to in his past history. One such runs thus: in a place called Murugod in Karnataka, there was a great saint named Sri Chidambara Dikshit, who was believed to be an incarnation of Lord Shiva. At a time when food and drink were very scarce in the country, Sri Chidambar Dikshit performed several holy yagnas, Vedic sacrificial rituals, on a fabulous scale and fed lakhs of people with scrumptious food which he created by his yogic power. During those yagnas and the feedings, Sri Swami Samartha assisted Sri Chidambara Dikshit by serving ghee to the devotees and the guests. Such another reference of his is to his stay in a place called Budhargad, where a certain Baba lived. We also have a little information regarding the miracles that Sri Swami Samartha performed at various places in the course of his travels. Most of his miracles were intended as eye openers to the greedy pujaris, priests in holy places who extracted money from pilgrims. There were occasions on which he addressed even wild animals like the tiger and the deer as though they were human beings, reminded them of the sins of their past births, and showed them the proper course for their emancipation. As a few instances of the like nature have occurred during his life at Akkalkot, I shall pass over these in silence. However, I shall mention one incident. There were two pahalwans, that is, wrestlers, at Haridwar who used to intimidate people by their prowess and satisfy their evil desires unchecked. However, after some time, they contracted terrible diseases. Everyone in the town rejoiced that evil pair got what they deserved and none came forward to help them. The wrestlers too considered their plight as just a punishment for their wicked past. They spent their time in prayer and repentance. At that time, Sri Swami Samartha was at Haridwar. The Swami one day, while dining along with his devotees, suddenly felt a flash of mercy for the penitent pair. Immediately he rushed to their presence. Wondering at his arrival in the middle of his meal, the restless were surprised and inquired who he was. Why are you bothered about that? He retorted. Let me first tell you what you are. He then proceeded to enumerate all their sins and concluded, you ignorant ones, not content with doing all these wicked deeds, and in spite of your being Brahmins, yesterday night you have secretly killed a cow, didn't you? The restless were dumbfounded by his all knowledge and sought his mercy. The Swami then took them to the dead cow and sprinkled holy water on it and patted it, and the cow came to life again. The crowds rushed to Swami in wonder and admiration and sought his blessings. The more learned among them then asked him who he was. He replied, I am Yajurvedi Brahmin. My name is Narsimhaban. I am the Purush in the origin Dattanagara. Banyan tree, original. Some of the Pandits could not, however, believe his claims and so asked him to recite certain portions of the Vedas. The Swami satisfied them completely by reciting every portion of the four Vedas they chose. There were instances too of Sri Swami Samartha helping spiritual seekers through his divine power. There was a yogi, for instance, who was engaged in penance for 36 years to win the presence of Lord Dattatreya before him. One day, Lord Dattatreya appeared in his dream and told him, I shall appear before you tomorrow at the entrance of your cave. Next morning, where the yogi was eagerly waiting for the promised appearance, there appeared a tiger at the mouth of the cave. The yogi was slightly shaken, but soon Sri Swami Samartha came there, blessed him, and vanished. Once a celibate named Alauni Bua arrived at Puri Jagannath with three other fellow pilgrims. Unfortunately for them, all of them were laid up with high fever, and there was none to serve them. While they were silently praying, Sri Swami Samartha entered the room and stood there resting his hands on his waist. The moment he cast a yogi glance at them, they were instantly restored to health. They bowed to him in wonder and inquired of him who he was. He replied with a smile, I am this infinite universe, I am everywhere, yet my favorite resorts are Sahyadri, Girnar, Kashi, Mathapur, Karveer, Panchaleshwar, Audumbar, Karanjanagar, Narsimhavadi and Gangapur. The poor pilgrims who had no food during the few days preceding owing to fever suddenly felt a keen appetite as soon as their health was restored. Even while the Swami spoke to them, their mind was thinking of delicious food. The next moment, they were invited by their neighbors for lunch. The Swami too asked them to have their food. It was a miracle that their passing desire for dainty food should be so immediately satisfied by the grace of Swami. News of their instant recovery from fever soon spread in the neighborhood, and many people rushed there for his darshan. Among them was a blind man. Not content with touching the feet of Swami, he prayed to the sage to bless him with a chance to see his divine form. Then the Swami took a garland which was placed around his neck and threw it at him. One of the visitors took it and touched the blind man's eyes with it, and his sight was restored. When all the people had left, an old man who lingered there slowly whispered to Swami that his wife was not being seen anywhere. Fixing his gaze intently at him, the Swami replied, You old man, desire and attachment have not slackened their grip on you even when you are at the threshold of death. When are you going to get free of them? In your previous birth, you were an oil vendor, quite devoted to me. But the old man did not attach much importance to the words of Swami. Then the saint applied holy ash or vibhuti to his forehead and asked him, Come, tell me who you were in your past birth. The old man's memory of his past revived and he said, I am Appa Teli. You are Sri Narsimha Saraswati. The old man fell at Swami's feet and begged him not to send him away from his holy presence. The word Teli in Marathi means as oil vendor. The Swami then touched the old man's forehead and restored his normal consciousness. By that time, as though by coincidence, the old man's wife and children came there. In the joy of reunion with his wife, the old man was oblivious of his earlier recollections of his past life and left the place with the Swami's blessings. This incident was narrated later by Alauni Bua to a sadhu by name Vaman Bua. Later, Sri Swami Samarth reached Deval Gram and left his holy sandals or padukas for the worship of his devotees. The Nawab of Nizam granted a jagir of 8 villages for the maintenance of the shrine erected over the padukas. The Swami was known at that time as Chanchal Bharati, the wandering one. In 1838, the Swami reached Mangal Vedha and lived there for 12 years, yet no one except a yogi by name Balakrishna Bua recognized the greatness of the saint. All the people there took him for a madman as he moved about completely naked. He was called Digambar Bua or the naked saint. The Swami used to behave sometimes like a madman, sometimes like a child, and others like a spirit possessed man. This, however, is quite in agreement with Sri Shankaracharya's description of a perfect saint. The Swami used to sit in common dust. When Balakrishna Bhuva visited him, he used to stand in the characteristic pose of Lord Parnuranga, his hands resting on his weight. His very sight used to inspire in Balakrishna Bhuva tears of joy, horripilation, and shivering, and all other symptoms of intense bhakti or devotion that are enumerated in the mystic books. And Balakrishna Bhuva was not a superstitious layman, he was an adept in yoga with several yogic powers at his command. One day, a poor Brahmin by name Bhatt invited Sri Swami Samarth to grace his house for bhiksha, that is, food offered to a holy one. The Swami immediately accepted the invitation and promptly arrived at the Brahmin's house by evening. Though he was greatly thrilled at his good fortune, Bhatt's heart was secretly touched by fear that his poverty might render his hospitality too inadequate for the great too inadequate for the saint Swami. The Swami instantly noticed his fears and told him, "Prepare one loaf prepared only with milk for me, I shall be satisfied." As there was no milk in house, Bhatt's wife immediately set out for the milkmaid's house. The Swami saw her and said, "Having a cow in your own house, where are you going for milk?" The lady Gita Bai was her name, replied, "Our cow has not calved for last 4 years. It doesn't yield milk." The Swami immediately got up, went up to the cow and patting her lovingly addressed it, "O Mother Gayatri, this Brahmin is virtuous but poor. You should yield him milk." Then Swami told the lady to milk the cow and left the house, promising to return by the time the roti was ready. Later, the Swami kept his word. He came to Bhatt's house, ate the roti, blessed them, and left. While at Mangal Veda, Sri Swami Samarth used to sleep in filthy places and amidst thorny bushes, yet his face always beamed with ineffable joy. A man by name Basapateli saw him while in such an attitude and wondered whether he was saint or a madman, though he outwardly bowed to him in reverence. At once, Swami looked searchingly at him and said, "Why do you want to know who I am?" The Swami's ability to respond to his unuttered thought confirmed to Basapateli that he was a great saint. Henceforth, he devoted all his time to the service of Sri Swami Samarth. Basappa's was a poor family, and no wonder that his wife lost her temper when she found that her husband was running after a madman, neglecting her and her children. One day, the Swami suddenly got up and started walking briskly. People wondered why, and some of them tried to follow him, but none could keep pace with him. Leaving all the others behind, he entered the neighboring forest. However, Basapateli ran after him. Though the dense forest frightened him, Basapateli derived courage from Swami's company. At one place, he found innumerable snakes of different sizes, shapes, and colors. In utter fright, Basappa fell at Swami's feet in supplication. The Swami smiled assuringly and pointed at the snakes and said, "Pick up as many as you want. You won't get the chance again. Quick, do not fear." Basappa picked up courage and caught one snake and tied it up in his upper garment. As soon as they emerged from the forest, the Swami told Basappa, "Go home and see When Basappa went home and opened the pack, he was stunned to see there was a big lump of gold in it. This miracle had convinced Basappa's wife of the power of Sri Swami Samarth. Thereafter, she never found fault with her husband for spending all his time in the service of the Swami. Once in the sweltering heat of the summer noon, Sri Swami Samarth walked into the house of one Babaji Bhatt and asked for cool drinking water. The lady of the house was very happy to see the Swami grace her with his request, but unfortunately, the well in her backyard was completely dry. The water in the house was not so cool, and she did not want to say no to the great saint, so she immediately set out for the neighboring house to fetch water for Swami. The Swami saw her and laughed loudly in his characteristic manner, holding his big belly with both of his hands, and said, "There is plenty of water in your well. Come with me, and I shall show you." He then led her to the well and, like an innocent child, urinated near the well in her very presence. At once, water swelled in the well almost to the full. Even today, many of his devotees take a look of the celebrated well. In the forest near Mangalveda, there lived a Muslim who lived on alms and wandered about like a madman, but he showed the utmost respect for the Swami. Besides serving him, he used to offer chilim or the pipe. One day, pleased with his longing service, the Swami kept his boon bestowing hand on the head of the Muslim. Immediately the Muslim attained illumination and was in a state of samadhi. Subsequently, he became a few famous saint whom thousands of people visited. He continued to behave like a madman and used to throw stones at the people who tried to approach him. The stones usually missed their targets, but whoever was hit by them was sure of having his wishes fulfilled. Once during the stay of Sri Swami Samarth at Mangalveda, he had a strange meeting or conference with two great saints. Often, Sri Swami Samarth used to retire to a lovely solitary place in the outskirts of Mangalveda. One morning, when he was sitting there, two strangers came to him. The very halo on their faces and their dignified bearing showed that they were men of great spiritual attainments. Then the three of them, the Swami and his visitors, had a strange conversation in a highly cryptic language which made no sense to the others. One of them said, "Why do you weep?" The second said, "Why are you calling?" The Swami said, "Why are you doing that?" Then all the three together went up by a nearby hillock. What transpired there, what they conversed, and what happened to the two visitors was not known, but after a long while the Swami came down alone. Afterwards, the Swami stayed for some time at Chalambe. At that time, in the court of Raja Patvardhana, there was one Ramdas who owned a mutt. One day, the Swami slept there for a long time. Ramdas wanted to go out somewhere, but he could not go out without locking the mutt. So he waited there for some time for the Swami to wake up. But when the Swami showed no signs of waking up, in a fit of impatience, Ramdas locked up the mutt, leaving the Swami inside and went his way. Amidst his busy engagements, he forgot all about the Swami and wandered about in village for a long time. All of a sudden, the thought of Swami came up in his mind, and he hurried towards the mutt. But on the way, he was astonished to see Sri Swami Samarth quietly playing like a child in a childlike manner by the side of the river. Inspired to probe the mystery further, Ramdas, however, proceeded to the mutt. To his surprise, he did not find Swami inside the mutt, even though the lock outside was intact. One Parashuram Bhatt Gore, a native of Sholapur, was a personal witness of this miracle. There was one incident connected with Swami's departure from Mangalaveda in 1850. The sun was very hot and Swami was wandering in the outskirts of the town barefooted. At that moment, there were two farmers named Pandarinath and Eknath working in a nearby field. The Swami approached them and asked Pandarinath to give him the shoes he was putting on. Pandarinath gave them away immediately and the Swami quickly walked away with them. When he was out of sight, Eknath said to the other, "You have lent your shoes to that madman. Now he has gone away. Your elders are sure to take you to that task for that." On hearing that, Pandarinath was greatly agitated in his mind. Strangely enough, the Swami came there in a moment and giving back his shoes said to Pandarinath, "Now your elders do not have to scold you. and the Swami left the place immediately. At first, the farmers thought that the Swami might have overheard their conversation hiding himself nearby. But after a few minutes, some travelers coming from Sholapur along the road told them incidentally that they met the Swami just 2 miles outside the city of Sholapur. The Swami never returned to Mangalveda thereafter. Ever after. After that, the Swami stayed in a place called Mohol for some time. He stayed there at the house of one Ganesh Shoni, the Mamaltadar. There lived in Mohol one Gave Swami, a yogi more than 125 years old. He could, by his yogic power, leviate his body nearly 8 feet above the ground. One day, he invited Sri Swami Samarth to his ashram and had a private talk with him. Gave Swami gave up his yogic practices ever after because it was superfluous once the Swami had blessed him with highest realization. A weaver of the same place insisted upon the Swami for a long time to bless him with the experience of Brahman. For some time, the Swami ignored his petitions. One day, when Swami was seated in front of the temple of Naganatha, the weaver approached him and made his usual request. Then suddenly, Swami pointed his finger in a particular direction, saying, "Lo, there is Brahma. See." The weaver found there a huge cobra and was very much frightened. The experience lasted for a number of days till Gave Swami took pity on him and prayed to the Swami to set the weaver's mind at rest. By Swami's grace, the weaver's sanity was restored. It is clear that Swami did not want people to ask him for things which they did not deserve. Soni used to celebrate the festival of Holy Vinayak Chaturthi on a grand scale. Sri Swami Samarth also used to attend the function every day. But one day, the Swami was about to leave the place in the middle of devotional singing or Sankirtan. Soni rushed to him and begged him to stay, but the Swami replied that he did not want to stay in his house. Finally, the Swami, unrelenting, Soni sent one of his attendants to accompany Swami to some distance. The attendant, who was devoted to the Swami, asked him, "When are you returning, Swami?" "After summer," was the crisp reply. However, the fact that Soni had illicit connections with a low caste woman and the Swami wanted him to mend his ways. It soon turned out that a series of troubles cropped in Soni's life and he was free only after getting rid of his bad ways. The whole of the unpleasant phase was what was described by Swami as summer, and only at the end of it could the devotee Soni see his master. Sri Swami Samarth stayed at Mohol for 5 years and after wandering a little arrived at Sholapur. There he entered a temple of Lord Dattatreya and was playing like a child in a corner. A devout man by name Chintopant saw him there and felt that he might be a great Siddha Purusha, that is, man of great realization. Immediately, Swami looked at him and said, "What is it to you whether I am Siddha Purusha or someone else?" At once, Chintopant prostrated before him in homage and invited him to his house for lunch. The Swami acceded into his request. It was a coincidence that on the same day, Chintopant invited some more guests for lunch at his house. At the appropriate time, all the guests assembled. One of them, Dadaji, watched the ways of Swami with contempt and whispered to Chintopant, "How could you invite such a one as this, who does not observe any of the proper traditions? It does not behove us to sit by his side and for lunch." For a moment, Chintopant felt that his words might be true. The next moment, Swami suddenly got up and walked out of his house, saying, "I am going, there is doubt in your mind." The host was quick to realize his error and sought his pardon. The merciful saint relented and stayed on. After some time, Chintopant invited the Swami for lunch once again. Though the Swami was prompt in arriving at his house, he did not sit before his dish for a long time. As he was chief guest, no one in the house could eat before he did. Daziba, the son of Chintopant, was a clerk in collector's office at Sholapur. As it was time for him to go to his office, he was in a hurry, and his father was in a fix. At last, he found no other way than to ask his son to finish his lunch even before the Swami did. But Daziba did not like the idea. It was 11 o'clock by the time Swami has finished his meal. Then Daziba took his meal and in hurry took leave of Swami and reached his office. Straight he rushed to the head clerk to explain and apologize for his delay. On hearing his plea, the head clerk was amazed because he did see Dajiba at his desk in time, and as a proof of his word, he showed the attendance register when Dajiba found his name already signed. Both of them wondered at the miracle performed by the Swami. This incident took place in 1826. Shortly after, Chintopant retired from his office and was offered a decent job in the royal court of Akkalkot. He naturally requested the Swami to proceed with him to Akkalkot. Now summer is very hot. I shall come after rains, replied the Swami. Chintopant went alone and took his office. After the reigning rule of Akkalkot died and was succeeded by his brother, there was a heavy rain. It was green and beautiful everywhere in the nature. The wandering Swami reached Akkalkot. Jai Sai Master.